Hello. Uh, Together with me today is Alex. We'll be doing the interview about data-driven decision making on the DDDM podcast. Welcome, Alex. How are you today?
Excited to be here. Doing well. A little bit early, but yeah, ready to get going.
Awesome. Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and your professional background in connection to data?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be rewinding the clock back a little bit here. So I got my undergraduate degree at Clark University in research psychology. And then I
Mm-hmm.
actually moved from research psychology over to get a master's in communications marketing, and then went back and got
Mm-hmm.
another master's in business analytics at Benton University. Um, since I've sort of joined the working world, I've primarily worked in startups within ed tech, e-learning, international education. I've also, more recently, about 2 years ago, moved into business intelligence and AI here at Sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
When I was, at university, undergraduate, I was working on a thesis within research, so starting to use data pretty heavily there. I further developed that skill set when I went to a master's program and learned,
Mm-hmm.
R, STATA, SPSS, learned all about regression, linear, stepwise,
Mm-hmm.
polynomial, cluster. So a bunch of different sort of regression analysis and how to apply those. And I began to apply some statistical analysis and methodology at my next job, which was working in an SEO agency, right? So within sort of the organic
Mm-hmm.
SEO marketing world. And looking back on that, I was helping our CEO with longitudinal studies to kind of understand the
Mm-hmm.
development of different search engines over time and their ability to answer specific queries accurately, right? Based on different
Mm-hmm.
updates to the algorithms within those search engines. So that was one thing we would work on over time, produce a new study maybe quarterly or every half year to see how those questions were getting answered now by the search engines and whether they were improved or not. We were also
Mm-hmm.
sort of testing the power of specific SEO tools like Ahrefs, Moz, SEMrush, which are
Mm-hmm.
like the big ones. Um, I then moved from that SEO agency, really focusing within organic and again on research, over to sort of develop my performance marketing skill set.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I refer to a lot as T-shaped marketing. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this, Lukash, but like T-shaped marketing is
Mm-hmm.
basically sort of a horizontal line, which is, I guess you could say, sort of a base understanding of a lot of different marketing disciplines, right? Whether that's
Mm-hmm.
conversion rate optimization, content, organic, performance, whatever it might
Mm-hmm.
be, is having a basic understanding and knowledge in a lot of different disciplines, and then sort of a deep knowledge, which is that vertical element of the T in a few, maybe
Mm-hmm.
two, right? And so I developed a pretty deep knowledge in statistical analysis at that point, and sort of
Mm-hmm.
rolling in things like performance marketing made sense because I was
Mm-hmm.
again still using a lot of analysis, right? Just
Mm-hmm.
slightly changing my toolkit, right? From working in an SEO
Mm-hmm.
agency, you know, relying on things like Google Search Console, GSC, and
Mm-hmm.
Mall as an SEMrush, moving over to more paid social tools, working within like Facebook Analytics, for example,
Mm-hmm.
or Google Ads, or, looking at things like Google Analytics. At that point, I think it was Universal, right? And now we're in GA4.
Mm-hmm.
Things have transitioned quite a bit in that realm as well. But again, working within a lot of analysis. So from performance marketing, which I was able to sort of get my hands on at Shoreline Education, um,
Mm-hmm.
moved on to another e-learning ed tech platform called A Cloud Guru, where I again managed all our performance marketing at the time, as well as experimentation. And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of where I started to dabble a little bit in what folks have traditionally referred to as conversion rate optimization, but is more sort of widely known now as experimentation. I kind of like that word
Mm-hmm.
better, anyways. But really understanding how users were working through our website and how to better improve the conversion for those users in that traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And so I managed that experimentation team, then moved on to another ed tech e-learning platform called CXL. Excellent program. It's where I actually did a lot of learning because it's kind of the best of both worlds. I was the head of growth there. So a lot of sort of new kind of KPIs and different statistics and different kind of elements of the job managing a team, right? A larger team at that point
Mm-hmm.
too. But also really kind of honing in my understanding of marketing, because it's a platform that teaches marketers how to be better marketers. So kind of the best of both worlds. And then, from there, went to a company called QS, continued to develop my managerial skill set with a very
Mm-hmm.
large team, develop KPIs, and understanding how to manage larger teams. So what data sort of pertains to managing larger teams versus hands-on sort of analysis. But I know that's a bit of a long answer, just kind of walking through how I've worked with data and data
Mm-hmm.
analysis since, theoretical kind of university graduate to actually applying that to my day-to-day
Mm-hmm.
requirements job, since my beginning of my career all the way to today.
Yeah, and this sounds like amazing journey. And right now you are in study, and I was wondering what the problems you are solving right now using data. Like,
Sure.
what's is like you have this amazing experience, and what problems you are solving right now?
Great question. As far as problems go and using data, I guess I can reemphasize too, like, except for like several examples in which I will sort of steer away from a data focused strategy. I feel like data has been pretty heavily leveraged in almost every discipline and every facet of my job so far. Um, Also, as you become kind of a generalist manager of a team, you kind of have to own a little bit of everything. So you have to understand,
Mm-hmm.
which is great that I was able to develop some of these like I was mentioning, T shape marketing skill sets. So data is heavily used, whether it's in GA4
Mm-hmm.
these days or SEM Rush or some sort of pay social tool. It's used in pretty much every decision.
Mm-hmm.
One other thing before I get into that problem that kind of comes to mind is
Mm-hmm.
like the importance of being able to speak to this data
Mm-hmm.
in a way that others can understand, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're both managing down and you're managing up. So, luckily at Sturdy, my leadership team is very
Mm-hmm.
technical and quantitative. I think they have a great
Mm-hmm.
quantitative background, so they kind of get it. And most marketers these days, Lukash, are quite quantitative as well, right? There's so many
Mm-hmm.
different tools out there. Regardless of what discipline of marketing you're in, you're going to be using some
Mm-hmm.
form of data for the most
Yeah.
part, whether it's content, organic, performance, to determine success, right? And then be able to speak
Mm-hmm.
to that success to those folks that are managing you. So, so I'll start with that problem. I thought of one problem, and this is a funny problem because a lot of marketers run into this problem,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically jumping through the different hoops and doing what you can to get, as a marketer, case studies from existing customers, right? Because
Yeah.
case studies are an excellent asset, specifically, for the consideration stage of a
Mm-hmm.
journey of your funnel or your loop or however you refer to your
Yeah.
specific customer journey. Um, they're robust. They're long form. Traditionally, they're quantitative in nature, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
XYZ customer grew by this percentage in this amount of time, right? So
Exactly.
traditionally
Mm-hmm.
telling a very good story, but with data involved. And I'm a big fan of case studies. And a lot of people are as well. Like now you see a lot of folks investing a lot of budget in developing sort of the methodology of a case study, but also how that case study is represented, not just sort of in written format, but now with all these different sort of video component case studies, which I
Mm-hmm.
think is a really cool idea. Because again, they're so important when folks are making a decision. And to differentiate them for a moment from testimonials,
Mm-hmm.
which, by the way, I might catch a little flack for saying this. I often feel that testimonials are written by the company and then handed over to the customer to ask if they have anything they want to change, right? Like to create that great story and then, hey, do you mind
This is
checking
just
this out?
gossip.
Anything you want us to change? Oh, no? Okay, cool. We'll throw it up on the website, right? So you got a couple
Mm-hmm.
sentences that make you look great. And that's cool. But to differentiate that from a case study, you actually have to have a story, right? You actually have to have
Mm-hmm.
data.
Yeah.
And I think to kind of go through the traditional method of gathering a case study, I think a lot of people will resonate with this. As a marketer, you go to maybe a CSM or an AE, and you chat with them a little bit about maybe some of their accounts. Let's say they have 10, 15 accounts. Hey, which of your accounts are really happy right now? And why are they happy? Are there any stories that they would be open to tell us? And traditionally around that point, the CSM or AE will, maybe this customer, maybe that customer. I don't really want to talk to them right now. We're kind of in a renewal stage with them, or they've kind of already done this for us, and I don't really want to bother them too much. Okay. So maybe I'll go talk to another CSM, another AE, talk to them about their 10 or 15 accounts, right? Hey, so which of these accounts are happy? I don't know. I've kind of got a few accounts that are in the green. Why are they in the green? Why are they happy? Yeah, I'm not totally sure why they're in the green or why they're happy. Oh, okay, so can we talk to them? Yeah, maybe we can. Give me some time. I'll feel it out, right? And this process of getting in front of a customer as a marketer to get this case study can sometimes take days, maybe weeks. And I think what's kind of cool as this problem, and I'm going to get to the solution. I don't know if that's the next question here, but I'm going to get to the solution for the problem. Being able to access that information, answer the what and the why in seconds versus days and weeks. So that's the solution to the problem, which I don't know. Is that the next question? Because we can kind of get into the solution.
Yeah, I think so. I am curious, and I think like the listeners are curious also, because you said about testimonials, and I agree. Like sometimes, of course, this is just gossip, but sometimes they are written by the companies too, and given to clients just to sign. Again, this is just gossip. I don't have any facts behind it. But regarding the case study, I am interested to know how basically you are doing this. So you mentioned like very live situation, and you are talking with customer success manager, account executive, or someone responsible for the client, and we all know that they are very busy, and sometimes, like you said, they don't know why some clients are green. So how you solve this, and how, for example, someone else could implement it in their company with their customer success managers or account executives?
So the best way is to go to the source, and I would argue that many businesses have massive customer bases, and they don't actually actively listen to those customer bases, right? And so that's kind of where the why comes in. And you mentioned why, and I want to talk a lot about the why. So if we were to break this down for a moment, I think quant, I've mentioned quant a few times in this conversation so far, and I think a lot of the folks that are listening to this will understand what the quant is. But I generally, call the quant the what, right? Answering the what. And so, you can typically answer the what through, user behavior or telemetry data in a SaaS product. Now, that's obviously not the case in like services businesses because they don't have telemetry data traditionally. But let's talk about SaaS for a moment. So, what is this user clicking on in the product? Or what did that user skip on the marketing site? What did they not click on, or what did they not engage with, or what did they not open? So the what answers part of the question, but I would argue it answers only a fraction of the question, because I would say the why is actually the more important question here. Why did they skip that, or why did they not click on that, right? And the qualitative is the why, and that's the unstructured information, the unstructured data. And I think one thing that makes me so excited about Sturdy, one of the reasons why I was so excited to join the team, is because Sturdy was trying to answer that why behind the what in real time, right? And I will note that as somebody who's worked within a lot of statistical analysis, generally speaking, unstructured data cannot be processed or analyzed within conventional statistical tools. And I stand by that, right? But these days we're able to do that a little bit more, and honestly, we're able to do it real time with sort of developments in AI. And I'll talk about this, and I don't want to go on and on about AI, but I will mention how we're doing it specifically. So at Sturdy, what we do is we ingest both your unstructured data from the conversations you have with your customers, as well as structured information about those customers, right? So as a business, for example, structured information and data. we would ingest your, your CRM information, right? Structure.
Mm-hmm.
We would also ingest your unstructured conversations with your customers. So that's the emails, the tickets, the chats, the transcriptions from different calls, right? We're talking, Lucas, about billions and billions of words and many, many millions of conversations, sentences, and phrases. And we ingest all of this information. And what we try to do is basically, it's called entity detection. And we take all of that unstructured information and we match it and marry it to the structured information, like your CRM data. So for example, if one of your customers sends an email to your colleague, we can, through entity detection, marry that information to that specific account within Salesforce. So we know who sent it. We also know the directionality of that message, whether that individual, your customer, sent it to your team or your team sent it to that customer. So that's the entity detection. And once we've married this information and we've normalized it to your CRM data, your structured information, we then run it through our inference engine, which is the AI I'm referring to. And this is kind of an interesting piece because the inference engine is our ability to sort of synthesize the billions of words and many millions of conversations, right? And I think to take a moment, AI, obviously a huge buzzword. Everybody's talking about it. I talk about it quite a bit too. There's a lot of conversations around Gen AI, right? And there's so many good use cases for Gen AI, specifically within marketing, right? You have so many different tools that you can just type in a small input and this massive output, right, is generated through generative AI, right? I can type in a few different sentences about a different article or blog I want to write, and the post gets written, right? That's the generative AI example. For synthesis or for sort of applied AI use cases, it's taking billions of data points, right? Massive input, and then synthesizing it into a very small output, right? I guess you can call that small output like insights, which I think is a massively overused term. And we refer to these things as signals, right? Or sturdy signals. And these signals are built by business conversations, business focused language models. And each of them corresponds to an analysis of unstructured customer conversations, right? Focusing on customer behavior and customer sentiment. And the aggregation of these signals enables basically the detection in patterns of customer communication. And those patterns are key because those patterns tell you if there's risks, right? Or gaps, why there's risks in those gaps, or alternatively, if there's some customers that are incredibly excited by your service or product and why they are, right? And so that gets us over to the flip side. It's not all danger and people are canceling, people are confused, but why are they canceling? Why are they confused? It's also people are excited, people are happy, but why are they happy, right? Well, I mean, let's think about it. There could be a million different reasons why. Somebody is excited. They send an email to one of your CSMs. Hey, we're super excited about, this specific product you just released. We're very happy about this specific product you just released. Now that CSM reads that email, feels pretty good about it, and then, closes it out. And they're the only person in the company who knows this information, right? And what Sturdy does is it ingests that email, pulls it in, as I've been talking about, sort of this inference engine, associates it with happy sentiment. And now you as a business leader can see that that customer is happy. Oh, that's great. Why are they happy? Well, you can see they're happy because of that new product that was just released, right? So tying it all back together, because they could be happy because of their CSM is just awesome and they really like the response time from that CSM, right? They could be happy for a new product release. They could be happy for a million different reasons, but knowing the why is really important. Imagine, for example, they've just reduced churn by 20%. We are so happy. They're writing an email. We just reduced churn by 20% in 6 months. This is a massive step in the right direction for us. Now you know that why is tied to a bit of a quantitative sort of, measure. And if you use Sturdy, instead of jumping through all those different hoops that we discussed when it comes to getting a customer case study, talking to these different people, who's happy? I don't know. Maybe these guys. All right. They seem happy. Can we speak with them? I don't know, right? Go through different days.
Mm-hmm.
Now you know which customers in your customer base are happy and why they're
Mm-hmm.
happy. You even know
Mm-hmm.
based on their language, Lukash, if they're looking to expand their account. We're talking about expansion signals that you as a human might not pick up, but
Mm-hmm.
or the AI does, and it's able to, basically push that information to the folks that are able to look at Sturdy, right? So they're
Mm-hmm.
happy. We know why they're happy. And they're actually so happy that they're looking to expand their use, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that sounds like a pretty good use case for a case study, right?
Mm-hmm.
Great, let's get them on the horn. Let's talk through what their expansion might look like. Let's get some marketing rights. Oh, you're so happy right now? In real time, we're able to tell this. How about a
Mm-hmm.
case study? And you just
Mm-hmm.
effectively reduced the turnaround time to even get in touch with the
Mm-hmm.
customer by days or weeks. And now you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to ask that customer, like, what do you like about us? What
Mm-hmm.
have you seen improve since you've started using Sturdy? You actually have their conversations previously. You actually
Mm-hmm.
have the information. You know what they like, why they like
Mm-hmm.
it, and you have a story. You can tell that story,
Mm-hmm.
and you have data to support it. So this is an
Mm-hmm.
example, right, of me developing case studies with Sturdy. Using Sturdy and understanding that what traditionally at other positions and other jobs took me weeks can now take me
Mm-hmm.
seconds
Mm-hmm.
to find the right customer, and getting in touch with them is as easy as sending an email, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
setting up time to meet
Awesome.
with them. And we're already 3 steps in because I already know why they're happy and what kind of story they
Mm-hmm.
want to tell me. So that is the problem statement, right? That's how we solve for that problem statement, by aggregating, ingesting, not just quantitative
Mm-hmm.
data, but qualitative data at scale,
Mm-hmm.
which again has never really been
Okay.
able to have. We've never been able to do that. And I think that's what's really cool
Okay.
about, what we're doing here.
So sounds like something which a companies need. I have few questions in regards to that. Like first question I noted is like how are you making sure that data is clean? Like you mentioned about structured and unstructured data.
Sure.
Do you is this his job for your client to make sure that data is clean, or you are helping in this making sure that data is cleaned and ready to analyze?
It's funny you mentioned that. So data cleanliness is actually something that we do when we ingest, right? It's interesting because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks, listen, I listen to a lot of different sales calls, a lot of different sort of objections, and a
Mm-hmm.
lot of folks, well, our Salesforce data is a mess. Well, okay, that's fine. That's okay. That doesn't matter for Sturdy, but I understand that that matters for you and your company. Because let's be clear, Lukash, how many companies have a very well fine-tuned CRM sort of system that's clean, that's really good?
Yeah.
And a lot of people do push back on that data cleanliness, right? But what's cool about Sturdy is when it ingests this information, and I'm not just talking about the billions of customer conversations and words. We're also
Mm-hmm.
talking about that CRM data, right? It does clean it for you. And that's one of the
Mm-hmm.
coolest things about Sturdy. Often I say it's not just like the AI or inference engine
Mm-hmm.
element of Sturdy, it's all of the work that goes up front, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much that's in the beginning of the process that people don't even hear
Mm-hmm.
about, right? So you ingest all this information, you normalize it, you clean it, and you also anonymize it and pseudonymize it. And why is that important? Well, you can imagine a lot of folks are like, well, hold on. You're going to take all of the customer conversations, all of the emails between my customers and my business, which, by the way, I will mention that there is 100% no emails or conversations that are captured within the business. We don't care what your teammates are saying to each other. That doesn't help us with
Mm-hmm.
your customers, right? So it's only capturing the conversations between your customers and your business. And like I mentioned
Mm-hmm.
earlier, it tracks the directionality of those conversations. But once it ingests it, normalizes it, cleans it, it anonymizes all that information, because you want absolutely zero PI or PII in those conversations, right? You don't want that
Mm-hmm.
information in there. It's a security issue. So that's I would say the number one thing that we spent time and resources on was that element of it, ensuring that once
Mm-hmm.
we ingest it, clean it, that we anonymize all the information. Because guess what? Sturdy doesn't need to know that your name is John or that your email is this or that your credit card number is that to be able to run, the inference, the AI. It doesn't matter to Sturdy, but it is important to redact and extract all of that information before you run it through the AI, before it even hits the system. And that's actually where we spent the most time with Sturdy. It's not like the AI, 30 plus, business language models that we built. Like those are really, really important to business. They took a long time, but it was really that first part, data cleanliness, ensuring that we could run and marry and match this information, regardless of how, complicated or robust your CRM data is at any given time. So does that answer the question?
Okay. Yeah, it does. And next question is regarding how you are making sure, or you are advising your clients to making sure that all data is in the CRM. You mentioned test transcriptions, emails, and communication with the client. I imagine some communication is outside of data you may have. So how you are making sure that you have access to the data, or making sure that your clients are providing this data?
Yeah, no, it's an interesting question. So I think, let's be clear. So when our customers are signing up with Sturdy, they're basically through direct APIs and integrations setting up tools like their email, right? I think email for us, I think 70+% of the conversations that we've tracked within Sturdy have been over email. Massive, right? And then you set up an integration with like Zoom again through direct API, and then your CRM, Salesforce, and so on and so forth. So that's how you're setting it up. Now, I can't necessarily speak to the technical nature or element of how we are differentiating between the conversations that are happening internally versus the conversations that are happening between us and a customer, or between your customer, Sturdy's customer, and their customers. But it is certainly one of the most important key elements, right? Because again, we're not trying to process or analyze any conversation that's trying to happen between you and your colleague, because that doesn't tell us anything about your customer, right? It is 100% only the bidirectional conversations between you and your customers. And the Zoom, for example, integration, when you get the transcript, that transcript gets pulled and adjusted into Sturdy. Sturdy's business language models run through that transcript and process it for any of the different signals via the inference engine. So that's how it happens. And again, just to kind of reiterate, I don't know exactly how, because that's not necessarily my job or my role. We're able to differentiate between those conversations happening between your customers and your business versus the business internal conversations. But I have a couple ideas. I just don't want to speak to those because I'm not sure whether they're the right answers.
Okay, sure. No worries. I was wondering also, you are speaking about conversation with the clients, and we all know that sometimes information about companies your clients, for example, work with, if in the B2B world, are appearing on the web. If you have some kind of data integration to help, for example, CSM to introduce maybe something for their clients based on the information you found on the web. For example, the company receive some big investment, and like this could be some kind of signal for the CSM for the green accounts to do something. If this is something you are able to do, you are thinking about, or I am just
it's a great question. Lukash, it's a great question, and I think some of our competitors actually analyze social, right? Like like you're mentioning, in Instagram or in Twitter X, they just announced a $10 million Series A, right? Okay, well, that could be a signal that we might want to use within our CSM potentially for, let's say, an expansion, right? Assuming that this customer is happy, and now we've just scraped the social net, understand that they've just raised a bunch of capital. Oh, maybe they'll be open to expand their account because of that. And it is a great question, and a lot of actually folks that I wouldn't necessarily consider direct competition to Sturdy have been doing things like that because it's easier, because it's actually much easier to scrape social content and internet content to understand and glean specific insights. We do not, to answer your question, we do not do that at Sturdy. And again,
Okay.
why not? Well, I think our unique and I think our competitive advantage is that
Mm-hmm.
nobody else has figured out how to do it like we do it. So we stick to that
Mm-hmm.
specific use case. We stick to the specific conversations that happen between emails, tickets, chats,
Mm-hmm.
because we pull in plenty and plenty of information. For example, yes, you're right. It might be announced in social that they've just raised 10 million. But if you are, if you have an account within your business with that customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And let's just say that customer and your CSM are going back and forth between emails, chats, whatever. There's
Mm-hmm.
probably dozens and dozens of emails, maybe hundreds of emails a week, chats, calls, transcripts, where
Mm-hmm.
that mention of equity and or investment might get mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah.
and that's most likely going to happen, right? Whether it's on
Mm-hmm.
a call, hey, congratulations, we just heard about y'all raising a $10 million Series A. That will be tracked and that will be 100% ingested into the system,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's not combing social, but it will more likely than not get mentioned again.
Mm-hmm.
Another great use case here is competition, competitors, and that's something else
Mm-hmm.
we track, right? When a competitor is mentioned in a conversation, that's
Mm-hmm.
something that we include and we ingest and we analyze
Mm-hmm.
within Study, because a lot of
Mm-hmm.
folks want to know what their competition is up to, right?
Mm-hmm.
So just as another example, but to
Mm-hmm.
answer your question,
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's on the roadmap at the moment because I think we're sticking to our competitive advantage and really understanding
Mm-hmm.
the customer through the customer conversations with businesses versus what they post in a social channel.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
I'm just wondering also how this looks like from practical standpoint of view. Like, imagine for a minute I am CSM and I
yeah,
am working, and we have your product, and
cool.
how this will help my day-to-day job.
Yeah. Good
And
question.
yeah.
It's a great question. So, I mean, like your CSM, first thing you do is open Sturdy. You have your set of accounts, right? Let's say 10, 15, maybe even more. A lot of CSMs might be laughing and saying, I have 20, I have 30 accounts. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people do, right? It's a very difficult job, right, as a CSM to understand sort of an objective outlook at how your
Mm-hmm.
customers are doing. Um, and I think CSMs are traditionally pretty adept and curious people, and they want to know not just subjectively whether or not one of their folks in their account in their book is happy. They actually want to
Mm-hmm.
know if they are happy objectively and why.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So what we can do within Sturdy on the flip side of that is if they open it up in the morning, they can see based on customer conversations over a
Mm-hmm.
specific period of time whether their customers are unhappy, whether their
Mm-hmm.
customers are confused, whether their customers are thinking of canceling long before they do, right? And that's how you can
Mm-hmm.
tell as a CSM which customers need attention now
Mm-hmm.
in real time, objectively. And that's something that's never
Okay.
really been offered to a CSM in the past.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so CSMs have some kind of action to do after he received the data. These
Yep.
actions are preset in Stardy, or this is preset by the company
It's funny you ask that question
she's working.
because Lukash, honestly that's a lot of time. The question that gets asked right afterwards, and I will answer by saying two things. Sturdy helps
Mm-hmm.
them take the next best action, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let's be clear. Sturdy's not going to do your work for you, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you are, like, for example, let's start an example. You have just received a cancellation signal
Mm-hmm.
and let's say, I have a better example. Cancellation is pretty
Mm-hmm.
straightforward, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you're a CSM and you receive a cancellation signal around a specific customer, you know that that customer is probably going to churn. You should probably escalate that to your boss pretty quickly, right? I mean, like that's pretty straightforward. But let's say you receive a signal
Mm-hmm.
that is a renewal signal, which means that a customer's renewal date is coming up, and you receive a contract request signal, which means that customer has just requested a copy of their contract. Now, not
Mm-hmm.
everybody knows this, but within Sturdy, we've been able to analyze that folks that want to renew or have a renewal signal, and a contract request of their contract actually have a very high propensity for canceling and churning, right? They're requesting a copy of their contract within the close date to the renewal so they can understand how they can cancel that contract. Now, that might not be very clear to everyone, but it's something that we're trying to educate folks on. So when those two signals together land, and you see that for a very, let's say, good account, because you can also, within Sturdy, measure the value of an account because of the CRM data. I can ask Sturdy, okay, which of our customers have a renewal date within 30 days that have requested a copy of their contract, that are over $10 million in ARR? These are things that I can specifically ask Sturdy. I get my short list, and then I know to take that list to my boss or the CEO and say, these customers are very much at risk for churning over the next 2 or 3 months, next 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. So yes, we do with Sturdy help you take the next best action, but Sturdy will not do it for you, if that makes sense.
Okay, so jobs of the CSMs are safe for now because they will have to do things to make sure that clients.
I'll say this too, Lukasz. A lot of folks go out and they say, AI is going to replace these jobs. No, AI is just going to provide another tool for these individuals to do their jobs better.
And in regards to that, how do you think, I know that AI will take over the world, 1 or 2 years, we all be probably dead or fighting for our lives, but if we survive, but how do you think data in your role will change in 1 to 2 years?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we've already seen it, so much over the last couple of years. And let's be honest, AI has been around for longer, right? It's just become more of a popular topic. But I think the number one thing that comes to mind for me is that data analysis will continue to grow cross-functionally. Different teams that previously have never really leveraged data analysis or data analysts, I think analysts are going to become, and take my word for it, I believe data analysts are going to become more and more popular. There's going to be more and more job openings for data analysts now that we have these AI tools, and they're going to be cross-functional. That is my prediction over the next couple of years.
Okay. And do you see any new trends, technologies you're excited about right now? You're thinking about implementing them, or?
I get excited by a lot of new technologies and trends. I'd say the number one, of course, which is I've been talking about it for the last 20, 30 minutes or however long we've been chatting. The number one is being able to understand and analyze unstructured information at scale using AI so that we can discern whether or not our customers, or there may be other use cases, identify whether those customers are going to cancel long before they do, so that our teams can proactively go out and ensure that we retain those customers. Use cases like that, leveraging AI to analyze structured data at scale, which we have not traditionally been able to do, right, with traditional statistical tools. I think that for me is what makes me most excited, because that opens the door to a completely new realm and world of information and data.
Okay, thank you. And thank you for being a part of DDM podcast and
I
being
appreciate you.
This has been guest.
Fun. Yeah, this has been a good time. I really appreciate chatting with you. And, hopefully I didn't have too much caffeine this morning. Hopefully I wasn't speaking too quickly. But I really enjoy talking about this stuff. This subject matter gets me excited. And I really enjoy you inviting me on the show.
Thank you.